Hi, students. So here we are on a snow day. We were a little bit worried about this, so as I explained, we are going to continue on with Friday's agenda and do that today. And then tomorrow, when you come in to take the test, I am going to be kind of sorting out some of your options that you're going to do for a research project. So I want you to be thinking about this, and I'll tomorrow when you take the test, I will give you your choices because I want you to look into some clinical psychology, especially mental illnesses. What we're going to do, and maybe you've seen this around the school in years past, is you're going to research a project that a psychological disorder that you are interested in. Maybe you're familiar with, or maybe you're completely unfamiliar with, and you really want to find out more about it. But you're going to really kind of dispel some of the myth of what it is and what it isn't. I feel like the more we talk about mental illness, the less stigma it has, especially for young people who hear a lot of conflicting things. You know, they see things on TikTok or on social media and they think it's one thing, but it might really not be. Or maybe they realize, I have somebody in my life who's struggling with that and can see some of those warning signs. So here we are. Um, we're going to be looking at some of these psychological disorders, and I want you to do this in an infographic. And I have an example of what you can do. Now, the example that I have, keep in mind, is a professional example from, actually, that's one of the first websites that I list, from the NIMH, the National Institute of Mental Health. I don't expect yours to look like that, but it is a really good example of how to be eye-catching and display information, but don't overwhelm people and really kind of bore people as well. So we're going to put these up throughout the school and help people understand what mental illness is. So you can choose any psychological disorder or illness that we discuss in class or one that might interest you. Be aware that the more obscure illnesses, the more difficult it is to find the research. But if you have a really common disorder, you're going to have so much information that you don't actually know what is right and what is wrong because there's so much out there. So the best resources to use, the number one that I would go to is the NIMH. That's from the National Institute of Health, and it's for specifically the National Institute of Mental Health. Mentalhealth.net, mentalhelp.net is a good one. And New York University Department of Psychiatry has a really good website that can provide a lot of information. This book right here, I brought it home with me, the DSM-5. This entire book is available as a PDF. Don't tell anybody. I don't know if that's supposed to happen, but I have the entire book as a PDF, and I have it posted on Schoology. So that can be a really good resource for you as well. So what I want you to do is create an infographic. I would probably use the Pages app, although Canvas has a fantastic template website, and a lot of those are free. Not all of them, but I don't want you to have to pay for like an upgrade, so use the ones that are available to you. But really, any kind of template that you feel works for your to present your information is great. I would shy away from using really basic templates like a Word document because that provides so much white space that it makes it really unappealing to look at. So what I do want you to remember is that I want it to be visually appealing. You shouldn't have too many words or too many long kind of text passages, but you have to give enough information that entices the reader to look further. So that's an interesting balance that you have to do, and that's a big part of the assignment. And then the explanation of it is going to be done in class. Now the visual is for the rest of the school. We need to know more than just what's on the infographic. So when you present these, which you will do, and that's a part of the grade, when you present these, don't just read to us what you have, because that's not going to be enough. You need to do a little bit more than that. So let me give you just, well, here's the rubric. I guess we'll finish going through that. Some content to include. I need to know about the history of the disorder. I need to know about some of the symptoms and behaviors, like what are some of the things that the warning signs to look for. How it is most often treated. Has that treatment kind of changed over the years? Is it medication? Is it therapy? Is it other kinds of alternative treatments that maybe are starting to become cutting edge that we need to know about. And then a really good one is I want you to do a case study or a historical example. Now that's going to kind of depend on the whatever you choose, but you'll probably be able to find at least a case study on any of these or a good historical example of somebody maybe in history that we look back now as saying, yeah, they probably suffered with that. So for instance, Mark Twain, we think Mark Twain probably had bipolar disorder. Knowing what we know now, he was never diagnosed with it, but those are some maybe like a historical example. So the things that you're going to be graded is that criteria is met, the overall content, the visual appeal. I mean, that's a big chunk of the project. The mechanics of it, I want no spelling errors. Like there should absolutely be no spelling errors, no grammar errors. And I want a bibliography. I need to know where your sources are. That should go on the backside. And then the oral presentation, how prepared you are, how well spoken you are, how much you really know about it and can convey to us rather than just reading off of your template of what you have. So here's the thing. Students in the same section will not be allowed to have the same topic. Therefore, each class period will select your top 3 choices. Now, I have 3 sections. If there are 3 people throughout the 3 different sections who have one of the same topics, that's okay. That would be way too difficult. It would be too cumbersome to try to figure out between the 3 class periods. So as long as we have different ones in each class period. If there's a conflict between topics, students with the higher GPA in the class section right now, the period right now, will get their first choice. So if it's between you and another classmate and you want to do, say, general anxiety disorder, and somebody else wants to do that as well, and you have the higher GPA, I'll give you your first choice and I'll give that person their second choice, which is why I want you to make 3 choices and email those to me. Okay, so here's kind of an example, and I have this also in Schoology, so you can take a look. But this is a really cool infographic of all of the different types. So we have these major categories. So let's look at feeding and eating disorders. We just talked about the motivation for eating. Feeding and eating disorders, if we follow this blue line up, we can look at pica. Oh, pica is really interesting. Oh, if you don't know what pica is, that's a really interesting one to do. Rumination disorder, also a very interesting one. Avoidant restricted food intake disorder, which is one step kind of below anorexia. You see anorexia nervosa, you see bulimia nervosa, you see binge eating disorder, and then other specified feeding or eating disorders. So you wouldn't look at just eating disorders, you would look at one in particular. You see sleep-wake disorders, there's a lot of insomnia, hypersomnolence, I don't even know. Oh, narcolepsy, that's another interesting one that we'll talk about. So take a look at these, maybe this will help you, but I also have some information, and I think I have it here. Yep, so I have some information. I have the DSM-5 disorders in the new CED. The CED is what the College Board expects that you know all of those disorders. So maybe you just want to stick with the ones that the College Board needs you to know, or maybe you want to venture out. Either way, it's totally fine with me, but just put your top 3 choices down. So what I'd like you to do between now and tomorrow at your class period, I need you to email me your top 3 choices. So put number 1, what your first choice is. Number 2, what your second choice is that you'd like to research. And number 3, what your third choice is. And I will then kind of take the time and go through the list. I will kind of create a master list and I'll give back to you. And so you will know tomorrow before you leave for the day of what you want to study and research. Okay, here was a JPEG. It's an infographic. This is kind of old, 2020. The mental health by numbers. I'm not sure if we can open this up right now, but this is a good example of an infographic. You see, it's very bold. They've got lots of numbers coming at you. You see, it's hard to see right now because it's blurry, but 17.7, and that actually is, average, I guess I can't even read what that says. I need to open it up on my pictures, but you see those numbers, and then it forces the eye to look in closer and further. So it's a very bold, very eye-catching visual, and then it makes the reader look further. This is a really great example of an infographic, but keep in mind, you have to have all of the information that I need, but also make it look visually appealing. And this is done by a professional company, right? Like this is the United States government funding this. I don't expect this level, but I do expect good quality work to come out, because I think mental health is really important. Mental health and mental awareness of what mental health really looks like is quite important. Okay, so your assignment today, by the class period tomorrow, I need you to email me, amanda.miller@jp2schools.org, your top 3 choices of a project that you would like to research on a mental disorder. Okay? So until we meet again, talk to you later. Bye.